Yeah, well, I'll tell you a bit kind of about it, and then, we can get into Camper Force and why I'm not a big fan of that. But basically, this kind of, a lot of this started in 2008. So in 2008, there was the big financial collapse. A lot of people, older people who, they had all their money invested in the stock market or in different whatever financial institutions, who now were nearing retirement or were in retirement. They had a plan of, I have all this money in the stock market that I could just slowly take out of, and that's what I can live off of. And then suddenly they wake up and all their savings are gone.
Right.
And in 2008, that's what happened to a lot of people in America. And on top of that, there was the major housing bubble, and a lot of them had homes that were now in foreclosure.
And they kind of almost get a little bit like where it dips into not a documentary. I mean, it's not a documentary, but like where she's kind of like chiding. What's the word? She's kind of going after during that party, that family party at the end with the like realtors. That's when it's like you can almost tell there's a little bit of the Hollywoodness going on.
Exactly.
It wasn't too heavy-handed, but it was also just...
Well, I think for Fern specifically, they said she lived in like a company town, and then that all went over, and everyone had to find. So it wasn't specifically... Yeah, so it wasn't specifically like the 2008 financial crisis.
Well, no, they do mention it.
Yeah, but it's mentioned... Yeah, but...
The idea is that you lose your financial structure, and then instead of trying to... Well... You do reinvent yourself as part of this lifestyle. Yeah,
but that's kind of what happened. That's why they had this big boom in 2008 of a lot of retired Americans. They found out they had no money. They had to sell their house, or the bank was taking their house. And they just thought, well, how can I live as cheap as possible? Right. If I have enough money, if I do have enough money, I can buy an RV or I can buy a van. If I'm constantly moving, I don't have a rent bill or an electric bill or anything like that. And the goal was kind of just survival at first.
Right.
And that's where the character Bob Wells, who I talked about a lot on his breakdown,
what's his deal,
in his
Bob
movie.
Wells?
Bob Wells, he didn't become a van dweller in 2008. He became a van dweller in 2005. He was more about like the freedom of the road and everything.
Did his son really die?
Yes.
Wow.
That's kind of what caused him to become to go into this van dwelling lifestyle of, he wanted the freedom. He didn't want to be tied down to one place. So he started in 2005, and kind of in 2008 when this came up, he became like this van dwelling guru, basically, of like, I've been doing this for a few years. If you are trying to live on the road as cheaply as possible, I can teach you the best ways to do it. And, you see that in the movie of he kind of has his following, and he has, people who are basically, here's how you survive on the road. And he has a YouTube channel, which I checked out, which was pretty cool, of cheap RV living, where he's basically like tricks and how you get along with living by yourself and being as self-sufficiently as possible.
Yeah, that's the thing that I took away. It was like, it's not easy.
No.
Like, it's kind of brutal.
It is brutal, and that's his philosophy of Bob Wells, which watching interviews and watching like this movie, like I found a big respect for this guy, because he has a philosophy and he's 100% into it of, life is a trade-off between comfort and freedom. And the van dwellers, very little comfort, as much freedom as you want. The rest of the world, you're comfortable, very little freedom.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. To me, I don't know how free that sounds.
I suppose.
You know what I mean?
I
get the argument, but like, what's free about being like get in your car like fucking kicked in at 3 a.m. by someone who's telling you can't stay there, and then
that's also true. But I guess that's why you got to learn like the tricks and the trades of living on the road and stuff,
right?
He does. And he kind of also in interviews he's more about just like freedom of the road and stuff. In the movie, he kind of gives this speech of like he's trying to save people from society, of like we've kind of been trapped by the US dollar. We've kind of created this world out of comfort basically, and we've been trapped in it. And he's like, the Titanic is sinking, and I'm trying to get as many people in the life rafts as possible. It's true what you're saying of like how free really is that. I mean,
these people are not free. I'm sorry. Like, you're having to call, Frances McDormand's character is clearly at least in her 50s.
Yeah.
And you're having to call relatives asking for $2,500 and you're, in some bumfuck town and your shit is broken down. You're at a mechanic, and like, if that's freedom to you, God bless. I don't know, man.
Well, which is exactly why, like, I don't necessarily agree with Bob Wells, but like I respect the hell out of the fact that he believes something so much, like he's willing to go 100%.
Dude, I've seen these people, like previous bands that I've been in, we would tour, not like how they are living, like where you're literally on the road, but we would spend some time on the road traveling in vans, and you would play these places, and whether it's like a bar and you see these people, or at a festival, we did a lot of festivals where there were camping RVs at, and like some people you can tell it's like they have it decked out. I'm not talking about like a fucking tour bus. I'm talking about like you could tell this is someone's fucking home.
I mean, a lot of traveling musicians especially live like that. 100%.
Yeah, but even there's like that subculture where there's people that they're not even necessarily the performers. They're more like, when we go to a camping ground and play at this festival, and there'd be people that are just like, and they know each other.
Yeah.
Like they see each other at different events.
So that's also kind of what I wanted to talk about, of just like, there was that huge wave in 2008 of like, mostly it was like retired or nearing retirement who now all their savings were depleted. And the idea of like freedom of the road, like they did it because they had no other option, because it was either that or you live on the street, because all their money was basically stolen from them, and they had no other option. So like the freedom of the road thing kind of came as like an unintended result. It was out of desperation. It was they had nowhere to go, and they had to take an RV out.
Do they know how many, like, what numbers are we talking about as far as like how many people did that?
I'm not exactly sure how many numbers. I mean, it has to be in the thousands, I'd say. If it's big enough that there are a couple documentaries about them.